Nothing can stop me. No. 'Cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell you good night.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What's up, guys? This is Rob, and I'm the vet.
Hey, this is Murph. I'm the maintenance man.
What's up, guys? It's Shay. I'm the girl. I'm the noob. And welcome to the Waiting Table Podcast. This is really awkward because I am using a lapel mic tonight and I forgot to clip it on. So I'm going to
I don't have a lapel.
Oh, you don't have a lapel though.
But
now I
what
do.
are you wearing, though? You're wearing something.
You do a suit coat. What are you wearing? Yeah.
Oh, yes. I will show you guys what I'm wearing.
Mhm.
Oh, after I clip my lapel on here, I need to be official, you guys. I am part of a
Holy
major
struggling.
podcast here. So
Yeah.
I have merch.
Yeah.
What's
Right.
up? All emotions are welcome here. And you guys know I love a good cry.
Yeah.
I love being part of good cries. And that's part of why I made this shirt. So
Let's be clear. This is Grow with Shay merch. This is not Waiting Table Podcast merch because
Correct.
all emotions are not welcome here.
correct.
No.
Just at Shay's
not at all.
place.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Waiting Table Podcast, where we have roundtable discussions about the hottest topics in weight loss with, of course, the coolest people from the bariatric community. I'm Rob, this is Murph, and this is Shay. Grab a chair, wind down from your busy day, and have a seat at the table. Hey, guys, how is everything today?
Doing good, man. Doing real good. How are you?
It's a day. It's a day.
You like that? You like that? How I just threw it right back at
Yeah,
you.
it's okay. Don't
Murph's
don't
learning.
involve the
You're
emotion
learning from
person.
Rob.
I like
That is
it.
the
That's how
hardest
you deflect.
question.
I
That's
know.
the hardest question that you ask. Every time it's like, "Hey Murph, how you doing?" I'm like, you want the full
Stuff.
story because it's been a day." But
Just remember, all emotions are
all
welcome.
emotions are welcome.
If all
In that
emotions were
case-
welcome here, what would you say, Murph?
If all
Dude, how are
emotions
you?
weren't
We're
welcome here, we're welcome here. Yeah, no, it's actually been a great day. We had some car trouble towards the end of the evening. Didn't get to do what I wanted to do with the kids after I got back from the bookstore. But praise God, all we need is a battery. Come to find out,
Yay.
and some coolant. But our most trustworthy car started acting up, and it never does. And so I was really panicked and freaking out for a minute there. But
USA.
we're good. We're good.
Awesome.
Back to you, Rob.
All right. Yeah, it's been a day. I agree. It has also been a day. So, for those who don't know, which is pretty much everyone, because I really haven't said anything to anyone, I re-aggravated my back about almost, I guess it's a week and a half ago. And at that point, I was already going to start training for the triathlon or putting more into the training for triathlon. And this is sort of an injury that I've had in the past. That's sort of my hips, my hip flexor, my glute, and my back. And I can't stand up straight pretty much. So I can't really straighten my
Ooh.
body. It's sort of like, that pain where I was pretty much joking around, but like this is sort of what I felt like when I was 380 pounds. When I was in pain, it's shooting down my leg, and I'm sleeping with tons of pillows under my knees, and I look at that chair every once in a while. I'm just like, it's calling to me. It's calling to me, that chair, because of my back pain. But yeah, it's been a week and a half. I know that this week it's going to also derail me. And I know that realistically, I shouldn't be doing much next week. So the challenge is, at the end of June, I have the triathlon that I'm doing with a whole bunch of amazing people from my bariatric community or my bariatric fitness community. And they asked me to do it. And I said yes. But at this point, especially next week, if I can't train, my chiropractor and my massage therapist said that they actually don't think I should do it. Even though hopefully I can be pain free next week, they don't necessarily think that I should rush into the level of training that I would be doing to train for it. So obviously I'm heeding their words, but um, there's still part of me that doesn't want to sort
Yeah.
of cancel it. So, I went on a bike ride today. That was my thing. Biking was the only thing I could do back then because I was in so much pain. And so I did it today. And, I can still bike without pain. I can still bike at a very high level, which is great.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just got some decisions to make. So we'll see
Mm.
over the next couple of days.
Okay.
Do you feel like that's been kind of triggering, like putting you back in that headspace, even though like you're not 380 pounds anymore? Like I just imagine, I don't know, I put myself in that situation and it feels to me like a setback, even though it's not.
For sure. Oh, yeah. For me, like it definitely does set me back and put me in that headspace of, you're it's the same thing as when my cardiologist said that my blood pressure is still slightly high. You do all this work to get to a certain point. I've done all this work to lose all the weight, so my back wasn't an issue. I know that I have residual effects of those injuries back then. It's 10 years where I still have 4 herniated discs, right? But you do all your work to get healthy. Same thing with the heart condition and all the medications, and then to have something so simple derail you and all the things that you want to do. It's sort of now you're back to feeling that helpless thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I did back then. But at the same time, I think the big thing, and this is what happened with the cardiologist, is he could tell I was really bummed and frustrated. And he was just like, okay, but the thing is, you need to look at the entirety of everything, right? Back then, you were on all these medications because you had all these issues. He's like, you may have to be on this very, very low dose of medication, but now it's not because you're at risk of all these issues. It's to prevent risk later on because of all the work that you've done. Right. And I was just like, you're right. Like that's sort of a good way to put it. And for me, in regards to, if I have to cancel the triathlon, it's a bummer, but at the same time, it gives me a lot more time to do other things that I've wanted to do. Like I've said for a while that I have way too much on my plate, and I've been hustling and going and stressing about all these different things. And I think that was one of the things. Like it's very time consuming. So if it gets to that point where I'm not going to do it, then I know that I can breathe a bit easy and allot my time to other things that I want to do. And at the same time, like I still, I don't plan on canceling like my hotel and all that. Like there's my group of people who are still doing it. I still want to show them the support. That was the reason I was doing it in the first place. And so, at the very least, it's a weekend I have with my family up in Muskoka in cottage country, and I can cheer on my friends. So it's not all bad.
Yeah.
And then I look at Murph's shirt and I feel amazing.
Feels so much better, right?
Right? Yeah. But you
Well,
know what? So as much as I like it because it reminds me of Saved by the Bell, it also reminds me of I don't know what candy that is. That's like it's just
Mike and Ike's.
No,
No, I know which one you're.
Runs.
like
Is it Runs?
the generic,
Yeah.
and
Runs.
you're just like, oh,
Runs.
those are garbage.
Bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see it.
Rob, I totally get exactly what you're saying. It was like what, a month ago. I had a concussion and a sprained neck, and I had to take 9 days off of work.
Yep.
My job that I'm loving doing, being on my feet, being active, losing weight.
Yeah.
Now I'm taking a steroid that caused me to gain weight. I couldn't move. I couldn't, God, I felt so defeated. I mean, you guys know, like I wasn't on the show for that, that first night, and even coming back, it was just like I just didn't feel like myself. Just everything felt off. So I mean, I totally get it. It's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But that's not the truth of the matter. You are healthier in every aspect of the term, than you were when you were 380 pounds. And so you're gonna bounce back quick, man. And
Thank you.
I'll be praying for you, and you'll get through it.
I
and you'll be
appreciate that,
stronger.
and it's interesting to see how something like this, regardless of all of the great progress we've made, how it can bring us back to who we were back then,
Mhm.
right? Because of a lot of the same, shared, I guess, challenges we had back then that we are having right now. And so it's very interesting to see that. And I think that's a great segue into some of the things that you wanted to talk about today, Shay, in regards to this
Yeah.
episode. I'm going to play around with my light because I look really like pale,
You kind of look like a ghost, but I'm digging
right?
it. I like it.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
Now you look like you're in
Good one.
Bermuda.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
Antarctica.
Right. Okay, that's good. That's
No,
decent.
There you go.
That's good.
there you
That's
go.
Doesn't look
better.
like you have a
Yeah.
tan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I do.
I like that. I need to
Were you
change
going to
my
say
light.
anything, Murph, before I jumped in? It looked like you were going to start saying something.
No, I'm good.
The concussion still got you down a little.
Yeah,
No, I'm kidding. I'm
if I
kidding.
was gonna say something, it's totally
It's long
gone.
gone by now.
Probably irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, look at this is the first time I think in the well, as long as I've been here, I don't think I've ever had somebody have a presentation. Have you guys ever had a presentation for the show from any guests before?
The first season was
No.
all presentation,
Oh, that's
all
it.
PowerPoint
All the
nonstop.
time.
Hi, my name is Murph. PowerPoint slide.
PowerPoint
Next slide,
slide.
please.
Perfect.
But then I would have control because Murph didn't have it, so he'd be like,
Hmm.
"Next slide, please."
Next slide.
And then
Oh my gosh.
questions.
Just a side note, at my job, I have to do presentations and stuff, and I hate when I don't have control because it's so awkward.
I know.
I just
I'm
do
the
that,
same
like,
way.
next slide, please. Okay, and then on the next slide, and then they don't always catch on. Anyway, okay. So that's not what we're talking about today, though. We're talking about walking into your true identity to foster others' true identities. So this is kind of a talk that I've developed to share, and I've shared it a few times now. I've cried for some of them, but I don't know if I will for this one. But anyway, it's just a way to kind of share my story, but also to kind of share some of the things that I've encountered. Sorry, the dogs are barking now. To share some of the things that I've encountered in my journey of bariatric surgery and what I've seen in other people. And this applies to everybody, whether you've had bariatric surgery or not, but we'll go ahead and jump in. So a note about the language, and this is something like that can be interactive. I kind of talk a lot in the beginning, but like you guys feel free to jump in and stuff as we go through it. But one thing I just like to talk about that this is really the language I use to communicate my experience. It's okay if it doesn't necessarily resonate. You can kind of fill in the blank of language that does fit. One thing that I found is that a lot of times we're all saying the same things, but we're just using different language. So I think that's important to kind of call out as I kind of talk through some of these things. So you guys, many of you know me already. Murph, Rob, you guys know this. But when I talk about my true identity, really that's something that I've been learning and discovering since having bariatric surgery. I think when I had bariatric surgery, it really removed a lot of the safety that I had kind of insulated myself with, like physically and emotionally. And I started to uncover, like, who really is this person? And it's just funny because you guys have known me, Rob and Murph, more in this season, but I was so different before. Like, I was very different. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I do have my master's degree in psychology, so I do know what I'm talking about, sort of. I've learned a lot more, though, in this last year than I have than I did from school. But
Yeah, I was gonna say a disclaimer. This is all Shay.
yes,
Rob and I have no idea what she's about to share, but she's a professional.
well, I don't know about that. I'm not licensed.
She knows what she's talking about. She has a master's in
She knows
psychology.
stuff.
I was gonna
She knows
mention
stuff.
that, but we have no idea what's going on. So
No.
Yeah, this is new. This is new for you guys.
proceed.
Awesome. I think it's important to call out, though, that really I'm just a little kid trying to make sense of life. And I think if we were honest about it, we all kind of fall in that category. Some of us like to portray that we know more than others, but if we're real honest, we really don't know a lot about anything. And so that's where I feel like I've been sitting, especially in this last year. So this is kind of fun to talk with you guys about this, Murph and Rob, because you didn't know me before having my surgery, this is a lot of what my life looked like. Those that are listening and not watching, I basically have all these compartments listed with a different photo of myself in each of them. And I joke about it, but it's like no wonder I was so exhausted all of the time because I was managing like 10 different people. I was a different person at work, in my home life. I was work Shay, wife Shay, friend Shay, all these different Shays. And it was so hard trying to keep track of, oh, what does work Shay say in this work environment? Oh, wait, nope, that's what wife Shay would say. That's not going to be, received. Well, I got to change it. And so it was like I was a chameleon, and just was different in every environment. And so when I talk about what it means to have found and I'm on the journey of finding my true identity, it looks a bit more like this. There's no more compartments anymore, which feels like so damn nice. I truly am the same person in every environment. Like how I show up with you guys is how I show up with Dylan, my husband. It's how I show up at work. It's how I show up with my friends. And that can feel a bit risky at first, especially because a lot of times we're not taught that. As you guys have seen on the show, emotions are felt and known. I cry so much now and I just can't help it. Like it's just, I don't hold back in that way anymore. And we'll talk about this. We talked a little bit about this in one of the shows a couple weeks ago. But the biggest thing now is that my worth is fully known. It's not that I'm now worthy after having bariatric surgery. It's just that I see that worth now that was there all along. And now that worth comes from something that's sustainable. And we can talk about that a bit later too. The other benefit is like for the first time, I just finally feel like rested and I have a lot of peace. And so when I talk about what my true identity is, that's essentially what I'm trying to communicate are these key things. So this is the part that is the most annoying. Really, this work has to start with you. And so I have on the screen right now this graphic where it's you are in the center, then you have another ring that shows like your people or your safe people. And then on the outside ring, there's the world. And I think in the past, I tried to approach change from more of the outside in of like, okay, I'm going to make all of these big system changes and I'm going to work from the outside inward. But really, that was just a distraction and a way to run away from myself. And so that's kind of been the most annoying part of learning and being part of this journey is that it has to start with you. And that's the hardest part. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's true?
Absolutely. I mean, I remember maybe 6 months into my journey, I heard the little adage, about being on a plane. If a plane is crashing, you got to take care of yourself. That's why they tell you to put on your mask first before you try to help others, before you try to do things for other people. And so putting yourself first and taking care of you or worrying about you, because ultimately you are the only person that you can control or manage. And so do the best that you can with you and um, deal with the issues that you have to deal with. And it's hard to give advice. I mean, that's why we have a lot of hypocrites out there, a lot of people that can't be trusted because they the Bible says something along the lines of take the plank out of your own eye before pointing out the speck in mine. You know what I mean? Like you're not taking care of you. What
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I mean I totally agree with it, and I think this is a great diagram.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to recognize, and I think this is common with everyone, but I definitely see this in the bariatric community. When pre-op, when we were, or in our previous lives, when we were larger, we often put everyone else in front of us. And that was one of the factors, I think, to us getting to the place we were. Or at least this is something that I've seen as a commonality with a lot of people. We would put our kids' needs before ours, our family's needs before ours. And that's often why our health fell by the wayside. We were too busy being there for other people. And so I definitely agree that it has to start with you. And it's something that I've learned over my journey is as much as I thought that I'm putting everything into these people, yes, sure I am in terms of time, but what's the quality of what I'm putting forward? And for me, I look at who I was, and I wasn't the best that I could have been. So yeah, sure, I'm giving all this time, but of what level of Rob, right? So now, because if you can prioritize yourself with any of these changes and who you are, then you can put forth a better person to these people that you do provide your time and effort with. So I agree with you 100%.
I think what you just said though, Rob, like for me, it's a bit of a different take because I didn't put time or effort or care or concern into the people around me at all,
Mm,
nor was I putting into myself.
right.
I got to a point where I didn't care
In
about
general.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, in general, you know what I mean? But it got to the point where, life or death kind of situation and things became real. And then I realized, like, okay, I got to take care of me. And then as I start taking care of me, then I realize, oh, I have 7 kids and a
Yeah.
wife who's, and then it just kind of light bulbs start to click on and like, oh man, I've been
Mhm.
so absent, and
Yeah.
so so yes and no, but I mean it's
Mhm.
all the same thing. You got to take care of yourself first,
Yeah.
and at that time
Agree.
I wasn't interested in taking care of myself and didn't even
Mhm.
bother trying to take care of anybody else, and I couldn't. I
Mhm.
physically, mentally, emotionally couldn't even try. So I yeah, I didn't want to, so I didn't try, and it was
Mhm.
obvious.
Well, and for me, I hid behind the guise of saying, "Oh yeah, well, I'm taking care of other people. I'm doing the noble
Mm,
thing. I don't have, I'm doing this so selflessly. Look at me. I'm the martyr," kind of thing. And
yeah.
I think if again, that's taken I'm needing to be like brutally honest with myself of like, no, I was just running away. Like, I mean, there was genuine care and concern for people. That's how I was created to be. That's how I've always been from when I was young. But not everything I did was for that reason. Like I told myself it was. It was because some of those things and a lot of the things I did was to run away from myself and go, oh no, I'll
Mm,
focus on other people. I'll focus on you. But it wasn't from a selfless perspective, if that makes sense. So I think that's something, again, I just have had to get really honest with myself about that. And it's not
And
a
if
pretty
people
thing to
see
admit.
oh, for
Right,
sure.
right. And if people are seeing that you're active in their life, or they're seeing or hearing that you're doing something in their life, or trying to help them out, or oh, she's got such a great heart, or
Mm-hmm.
he means well, then maybe, just maybe they won't see that I'm
Yes.
almost 500 pounds and dying and that I'm actually broken inside, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Nailed it. Hit the head of or hit the what's that saying? Hit the
Hit the
nail
nail
on
on
the
the head.
head. There you
Nail.
Yeah. It's like the what is yeah. There's another phrase, but it's like the look over there, and then you're doing the Texas hustle or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like look over there, but I'm helping you. But hey, look over
Yeah.
there.
Texas
Yeah.
Very
hustle. I've never
distraction.
heard this one.
You haven't? So what is that
No.
called?
I don't know, but I
I don't
like
know.
it. I just
I
I
like
just
it.
heard in my head, do the hustle.
That's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's not the
Na,
Texas
na,
hustle.
na, na,
That's
na,
so
na,
wrong.
na, na, na. And then you
No,
do this
don't quote me.
as
Don't
you go to the
quote me on
bathroom.
that.
That's what it's going to be in every so at
Do the
10:03 p.m. when Murph has to go to the
Mm,
bathroom. It's called the Texas
That's right.
hustle.
that's
Don't
Okay.
judge
right.
me, preppy.
Yeah.
Well, we digress. Shall I
Sorry.
continue, boys?
Continue.
All
Proceed.
right, all right, all right. So we've kind of already covered this, but you might be thinking, how does this apply to bariatric surgery? And I think we did actually cover that quite a bit, where it does. Bariatric surgery is a circumstance or a situation, but again, if you have bariatric surgery and you're not willing to face the reality that you have to work on yourself, it's
Mhm.
not going to be helpful. And I have talked and heard of situations with other people where that has been the case. It was just kind of one more thing to continue that mask, but they didn't want to do the work, right, when it comes to that mental and emotional piece. And so I think it applies in a lot of ways to bariatric surgery for that reason.
For sure.
So are you guys ready to get messy?
I'm already
Oh
messy.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I like to think of this imagery of a root or a deep rooted weed, and we have them in our lives. And a lot of times, at least what I've experienced, is we do things to pluck off the leaves of those deep rooted weeds. We do things for other people. We maybe go on vacation. And again, these things aren't bad things inherently, but sometimes we can do that to clean up our weed without actually digging at the root and seeing what's in it, because it's painful to do that. It's messy to do that. And so this last year of my life has really been uprooting that deep rooted weed, sorting out through the pieces. And in that process, it's been really cool because I've been able to help other people do that too, because it can feel really scary and isolating to do that by yourself. It's messy. But just knowing that I would say all of us are able to relate with each other in one way or another, even if we haven't had the exact same experience. We know what pain feels like. We know what suffering feels like. We know what joy feels like. And so being able to work with other people in this way has been like a real joy, and it's really helped my own personal journey as well. And so let's get into that a little bit more. So pipe cleaners, I know that's exactly where you guys saw this going, right?
Yeah.
That was your thought, right? Like
100%.
obviously pipe cleaners are next. So
That's a picture of my hand with those.
yes.
Yeah.
It
thank
is.
you for using that.
Yeah, I'll give you the stock
Love
footage.
pipe
What do they call it? Royalties later. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
So on the screen, for those that are listening, we have all these pipe cleaners and then little pipe cleaner puppet people. That kind of sounds scary as I'm describing it. It's really cute. It looks a lot cuter than how I just described that. But how I like to think about how we were each created, we were created, and I think of it in these pipe cleaner masterpiece terms. So I picture maybe Murph has, all those colors on his shirt. He has some blue and yellow and red all mixed together to make this perfect masterpiece. Rob just has blacks and grays because he's soulless.
Boring.
But
Yeah, because that's the color of my soul and heart.
Exactly. Mine might have some pink and yellows and orange and whatever. And what happens is we are created and we're beautiful masterpieces. Okay, this is where I need you guys to come in and help. When you see the slide here, I need you to give me a little boo hiss. Okay, you'll see what I mean. So then we have these thorns that come in.
Boo.
Hiss.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good job. It's
Nailed
like a
it.
melodrama. Nailed it.
We did it, Murph.
Good job, guys.
The hammer on the nail.
That's right. So we have these thorns that come in and get so deeply ingrained into our beautiful pipe cleaner masterpieces. And those thorns can be outside blockages, which we'll talk about a bit in a minute. It can also be trauma and experiences. And wouldn't it be nice to know? I really do think this would be the secret sauce for our struggles. If we had a way of being able to tell in a percentage-based format what was causing our struggles. Is it truly ourselves? Is it the trauma and experiences we've gone through? Is it blockages? What's the percentage there? Because then if we knew the percentage, we could go, okay, well, it seems like it's more trauma and experiences. I'm going to put all of my attention into working through that. But we don't know that. We don't know what the number is for that. You guys don't have like a solution to figure that out, right? I'm not missing something here. You guys don't have a cool invention. I know.
I'm calculating.
He's
right
working.
You're doing your equations right now. So since we don't have a lot of time here, I want to just talk about some of the outside blockages that I've encountered for myself and that I've also worked with other people in as well, because those are a bit more stable. It would take a whole lot more time to try to get into the other two of, trauma and experiences in ourselves. So we'll start with that. So when I talk about these blockages, I tend to personify them because that's how I've experienced them. And I do have imagery for them as well. So I've talked with you guys a little bit about these, and some of these will probably sound familiar. So some of the common blockages, I don't think that these are all of the blockages that are out there, but these are just the ones that I've seen. We have shame, performance, panic, rules, duplicity, fear, doubt, and excess. And so what I'm going to do, you guys are welcome to like comment as we go through, but I have just some of the lies that each of these have either told me or I've seen communicate to other people. Because when we can start picking those out, we can start separating ourselves from what is an outside blockage, which is, you know, one of these or multiple of these, and who we truly are and what our true identity is. And that's been a big component of this journey for me, is learning that, you know, when I have thoughts in my head, like, you know, things like, oh, you're not capable, you could never do something like that. That's not Shay and my true identity talking. That's performance, or that's shame talking. And so
Yeah.
being able to see them separated out from who I truly am has been really helpful. Any thoughts or questions before we kind of dive into these?
You totally
I'll
see
take
that
it.
in my profession. So with doing sales, there's a lot of times where you're working with different reps or whoever the case might be, and you know what you need to do, you know what you need to do to perform, you know what, you know, the issue is, but there's a reason why you don't do that, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times, you know, for example, with us speaking with surgeons, we speak with a wide variety of different customers. A lot of times it's wound care nurses, or it's floor nurses, or it's, you know, C-level people, but surgeons scare the crap out of a lot of sales reps.
Mhm.
And, you know, you need to do it. You know that there's a big reason why we need to do it, but a lot of people don't like doing it or are afraid to do it. And so why? And I think these blockages are, you know, very indicative of why people don't do it, whether it's,
Mhm.
you know, whether it's fear, which I think it is for a lot of people. And then, you know, you do it and you're just like, wow, that's not really scary at all. Right. And
Mhm.
if you look at them in a specific way, totally gets rid of things. Maybe it's a performance thing. Maybe it's a doubt in yourself thing. You know,
Mhm.
am I good enough? Do they want to hear from me? Whatever the case might be. So I definitely see these blockages in a lot of different places for sure.
Mhm. One thing that I found is interesting too, as I go through them, those that are listening or watching right now or at a later time, just notice your body. And I've heard this from other people, and I notice it within myself too. With some of these names, sometimes I'll get body sensations that are kind of surprising, and it's almost like stress responses that come to the surface. So it can be a racing heart, it could be sweating, it can be an upset stomach. Just notice some of those things, because that will kind of clue you in a bit to those blockages that are maybe like at the forefront of what's like disturbing you, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So just something
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah, for sure. You could become fidgety,
Yeah.
or not focused. You start looking at your iPad and
Hmm.
trying to think of a funny joke
Yeah.
to make about
To
something.
answer, how's your day, Murph? How's it going? Fidgety.
Fidgety.
Just a couple examples.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not directed at anybody specifically.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Cool, 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 cool. All right. So shame, we'll go to shame. This is one that I'm very well acquainted with.
Hmm.
The imagery I use for shame is a spider, because shame is everywhere and nowhere all at the same time. How I like to think about shame is, if you go into a gorgeous mansion, I know you guys are used to doing that, you know, life
Yeah,
of the rich and famous.
It's every
So
day.
you
It's
go
what it
over
is.
to, you know, Murph or Rob's house. It's
yeah,
so immaculate. It's
yeah,
beautiful. But then you start opening up some of the cupboards and you see all these spiders that start to fall out, and it's kind of surprising, right? It's like, whoa, I was not expecting that here. And that's how I've seen shame operate, where it's very covert and quiet, and it kind of can come at you from a lot of different angles all at the same time when you're not expecting it. So shame tends to drive home the lies of you're not capable, who's going to believe you, what makes you so special, you're worthless. Um, So yeah, shame is a very, very common one that I see. And I don't know if that's just because I've experienced shame a lot or if it's just more of a common one, but I see that one a lot. Performance is another one that I see quite a bit. And performance and shame, they're buddies because shame is very covert where performance is more overt. I think of performance as being like that really annoying, like sports coach that just won't shut up and is yelling at you all the time. That's how I've seen performance. So performance tends to drive home the lies of if you don't do this exactly this way, you're wrong. Why even try? You're going to fail. Your worth is tied up in what you do or don't do and how well you do or don't do it. And that's not true, but that's what performance tries to communicate.
So are these things that that we're hearing from others that are affecting us, or things that are these, lies that we're telling ourselves or both? Is that what
I think it could show up differently for different people. In my experience, these have been like external outside things. I don't even really know how to categorize them. I've seen other people use them to drive home lies, but I think like when I am my true and authentic self and my true identity, I don't believe these things. So I guess it doesn't really matter necessarily where they're coming from because they can be, I guess, communicated through lots of different methods, through the media we watch, through people that are super close to us. And again, it's like those people that drive home these lies, oftentimes that's not who they truly are either, or at least that's what I believe, but they've been so consumed with these outside things that they start to believe it themselves. So I know it kind of sounds like far-fetched, like kind of maybe obscure concepts, but does that make sense? Or is there a way that I could clarify that?
No, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it now. I wasn't sure if this is, from another person's point of view, somebody telling me that if I don't do this right, then I'm wrong,
Got it.
or is this something that I'm telling myself?
Yep.
Does the performance piece come from me, or is this
Mhm.
something that I'm looking to somebody else to get approval,
Sure.
and try to a boss or something like that,
I think how I've
or both,
experienced it.
or both.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
guess you could
I think all.
totally
And
do both.
Yeah.
I think how I've experienced it is like these are the lies I hear within my head, but it's not myself telling me those lies. It's these external things that have names or that I've given names, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
No, I
see
agree with that.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next slide, please.
Panic. What was that?
I said next slide, please.
Next slide. So panic, I hear in a very like high pitched nasally voice. And it's very annoying. And so panic is an interesting one where panic shows up in environments that don't really make sense to have panic. That's how I've seen it for me. So an example, if I'm doing like a presentation for work or I'm getting ready to go on a trip, there might be some natural like anxiety that comes up. Do I have everything prepared? It's kind of out of my norm, whatever. Panic shows up when I don't have environmental things that I might feel panicked about. So panic shows up a lot of times for me when things are actually really like calm and chill. I don't have anywhere to go, anything to do, or like I'm excited about something. That's when panic will show up and communicate these lies. And again, this is how it shows up for me. It's like in this very high pitched nasally voice of like, what if this, that, or the other happens? The moment you relax, something bad will happen. Don't get too comfortable. The other shoe will drop soon enough. Do you guys like my like acting? That's what it sounds
Very
like,
good.
though.
Bravo.
So yeah, panic is an interesting one. So rules is interesting. Rules is a bit more, it's like quiet and scathing, I would describe it. And a lot of what rules communicates is like 95% true, but it's the 5% that's false that makes everything else false. And that's what makes this one really confusing. rules, it kind of has to do with spirituality, or that's how I've seen it show up, but it's communicating those lies of like, wow, like you think you're worthy of a higher power's love, like that's laughable. If you don't do everything right in your religious teaching, your higher power will pull away from you so quickly. You better not let other people know about your struggles. They will write you off, and so will your higher power. So again, that's one that I've experienced more in regards to kind of spirituality and like religious aspects within my life. But this one is annoying. I don't like any of these, but this one just like makes me want to throw up.
Could this equate to, family members, mothers, fathers, you know what I mean? Bosses, things like that, people that you're trying to improve, not necessarily a
Sure.
higher power. I mean, you
Hmm.
you know my beliefs, but I'm just saying, we're trying to impress or get into someone's good graces for that
Hmm.
raise or that promotion. You know what I mean? So this is applicable in, you know, yeah, in every facet of life.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I could see that, being the case.
Just
So
rewinding a little bit, Tatiana says performance to her seems like expectations that she would put on herself, which I think so as well. Like I think
Hmm.
that
for
is
sure,
definitely where
for
I
sure.
would put it as well.
So that's where too, though, again, as we're thinking of these things, that's why I really like calling them like external or outside blockages, because I know for myself, when I'm living in my true identity, I don't put expectations on myself in that way. That's what performance does. And that's
Mhm.
where it gets kind of hairy, because, and that's why I like to use that pipe cleaner analogy, because those thorns get so deeply integrated into like our masterpieces that a lot of times we can't tell that they're separate. And so
Right.
I would just encourage, as you're thinking about that, that it's not that you're putting those expectations on yourself, but it could be performance, it could be shame, it could be, and again, that could also be, communicated through family members, friends, or things that you see and hear. But I just am, it's been really helpful for me to see these as names and call them out. And so I
Mhm.
just want to make sure I drive that point home, because it's really important that you know that it's not you, this is outside.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, duplicity. This is one that was very present in my life, in my compartmentalized phase, I'll call it. Duplicity has really felt like a veil or a mask, where it's like my true self genuinely wants to escape and be shown, but duplicity has been one of the biggest things that stopped that from coming out. And it's almost like, if I was really sad on the inside, but you picture me having like an actual mask with like a big smile on it, I could try to shout through it, I could try to say I'm not feeling well, but to the outside, if you're not looking carefully, you wouldn't know, right? and
Mhm.
and so duplicity has driven home a lot of lies of, you can reveal some stuff about yourself, but not that one thing. I know you're struggling, but don't let anyone see it. If people
Mhm.
saw who you really were, they would be disgusted.
This is a
And
lot of
those are,
social media,
yeah.
right?
A lot.
We look at Instagram. We've even talked about this too in terms of like, what we put out there and, you know, through filters, through whatever the case might be. Is just we have a certain image that we want to put out there and that we want other people to see. And I know that oftentimes that is not necessarily true of who we are. And so I think that's always something that people struggle with, especially people
Mhm.
who are in, I guess, in the public eye of social media or
Mhm.
other places. But yeah, especially in social media, I think.
Mhm. Well, and that's what I'm just so sick of. Like
Hmm.
I've been in that for the majority, or I would say the majority of my adulthood, and it's just exhausting. And the cool thing is since having this duplicity not affect my choices anymore, it still will come up where I struggle with it sometimes, but I don't allow it to control my decisions anymore. And the cool thing is by showing up in that way, it allows other people to do the same. And I think when I had that mask, when I was wearing that mask, what I was desiring so much was connection with other people. But the mask just automatically prevents that. And so when that's removed, people feel safe to take theirs off. And it's like, oh, finally we can be real. Like that feels so nice, you know?
Yeah,
It's
I
kind of a
agree.
catch-22. We don't know. It's part of the maybe the fight, flight or fight, type of
Hmm.
response where, we want to engage, we want to find that commonality, but I'm only going to show you so much of myself, or what
Hmm.
I am going to show you is just going to be all the happy, funny things.
Hmm.
And look at, yeah, because being vulnerable and being transparent is not easy for a lot of people. It's
Yeah.
it's not normal almost, it's not something that comes naturally for a
No.
lot of people.
Well, and I think it does come naturally, but we've had a lot of us, if not most of us, have had experiences that have made us adapt and cope differently because we've gotten burned from that. So I
Yep.
think like, I look at myself as a little kid. I didn't have this mask, but what started building this mask is when I started seeing, I would get backlash if I, said how I really felt, or, I
Right.
would get emotional detachment from my primary caregivers. So it's like, I think that's again, as we're separating that out, it's an important distinction to make that what's natural actually is to not have a mask, but we build that for good reasons to protect ourselves for
Yeah.
survival, right?
Yeah.
And it's not
Hmm.
easy, um but yeah, so not like going against what you're saying, but again, as we're separating that between like our true identities and what we've been trained to do or have needed to do to survive, I think that's just important to call that out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like one of the first things that comes to mind, for us in our community, or at least me, is there's a gym that promises to be a judgment-free zone, and then you go there, and it doesn't feel very judgment-free at all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We want to trust these places, we want to trust people,
Mhm.
but then we get hurt and burned. But we're human, and
Yep.
Mhm.
we do that. And so, trying to accept that and move on. Yeah, I'm sure you've got more points.
Oh no, it's
Um,
all well. I think Mary also, I think this is a good thing to call out. Mary said, when I realized that I was raised by a narcissist, it explained a lot of why I wasn't open with others. I think that's very nicely said. All right.
cheers,
Well,
Mary.
um, awesome. All right, fear. This is like my favorite graphic. I don't know. It's like this little fear guy is very much how I picture it. Fear is interesting where it hides behind the guise of being this huge like, big boulder that's just so powerful and has so much strength. But then when it actually gets to you, it's like this little tiny guy who doesn't really have power at all, but it hides behind that. So fear is a bit different than panic. I feel like fear is not as like anxiety driven as panic. It's a bit more like, oh, tough guy kind of a voice, I guess.
Hmm.
But fear is that mindset, or communicates those lies of, don't do that. Don't you even think about doing that. That will only lead to bad things.
Hmm.
So very like doomsday, where panic is a bit different. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and I'll get through the rest of these, and then we can talk about them more. I just have a few more, but doubt is a bit more quiet, a bit more of the covert ones, and doubt is the one that has told lies to me of like, are you sure you should be sharing that? The first time I talked with Murph and Rob, doubt was definitely like in like, oh gosh, like you like showed too much of yourself. They're gonna think you're such a crazy girl. And I mean, you guys probably thought I was a crazy girl, but
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
do.
it's like that's what really creeped in of like, oh, if you say it that way, it probably will be received poorly. Wow, you're a little too confident with yourself. Like, settle down. So, were you guys gonna say anything?
No, I'm married. I know when to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I'm good too then.
Perfect. No,
Proceed.
doubt's a funny one.
No, it is. It is. But Shay, like, Um, yeah, only you had that doubt, you know?
Right.
We
Exactly.
didn't we didn't have that doubt. You're projecting that.
Oh
You're
yeah.
putting that on, you know what I
Correct.
mean? You're putting that on you.
Yep.
Nobody else is thinking, or at least Rob and I, because we totally talk about you behind your back all the time.
All the
Right.
And
time.
True.
and we have never once said, is this a bad idea? Or,
Mm-hmm.
there was no doubt in our minds.
Yep.
So why is there doubt in your mind?
Exactly. And
We
that's
didn't
what
we didn't say anything. We didn't do
no,
anything.
yeah,
You
and
know what
thank
I
you
mean? Like,
for clarifying that. It's more of the
yeah,
self or the doubt that comes in after of this
right,
outside thing communicating that to me where
right,
yeah, it's not because you guys indicated that at all. It's again, it's the projection. You're exactly
yeah,
right. Mhm.
yeah.
All right, this last one is excess. Excess is like super
Mm.
loud and obnoxious. Excess is the one that communicates the lies of you need more. This isn't good enough. Do this and you'll finally find fulfillment. Ignore that. Let's focus on this. I almost pictured as like Ursula from The Little Mermaid,
No.
like, I don't know, like that's just how I see it. But excess is one that it'll always cause you to chase the next thing, and it won't lead to fulfillment, even though that's what it promises. And so that's a tough one too.
Yeah.
So with that, we're not doing that part, but I'll just end it there as
Okay.
far as that goes.
That was good.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
just hear from you guys. Like, what are the ones that stuck out to you? Did you guys notice any body sensations or things that like kind of came up while we were talking about those?
Can you throw them back up, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that first slide of the,
Yep.
yeah,
Let me get to it.
That one. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. The one thing that I'm noticing is that these are all, yeah. I mean, you can't pick one,
Mm-hmm.
or two or three. I mean, like we all, if you don't have one of these, you're lying. Like, I'm sorry. Like everybody at some point has, tried to, um, you know, run from their emotions, with panic, or wanted something else that, that's going to make them feel better. You could go on and on and on, but I feel like a couple specifically, and I don't know if are we supposed to say what we think we are, but
Well, and
um,
you're not any of these. It's more of which ones kind of brought up experiences for you.
right, right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, for me, um, and I'm usually the one that sits back and lets you guys talk. I don't know why I'm like so into this, but like this is really good. Um, Yeah, for me, it's like a little, it's all of the above. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a little bit of everything. I find myself getting, um, I'm able to put a name or a face or a circumstance to almost every
Mhm.
single one of these, that has caused me to feel a certain way, or has been my downfall at one time, um, or my reason for binging, or my reason for suicidal thoughts, or my reason
Mhm.
for almost crying right now. Like, there's always, there's something, to be said for
Yeah.
all
Mhm.
of these.
Which one? I'm
It's
just curious, Murph. Like that emotion that's coming up. Which one is the one that like that? It like is there one
I knew
that?
this was a trap.
I know.
No,
That's what I was
it's
gonna
not
say.
a.
I'm just like
You wanted
shit.
to just see us cry, is
I'm
what it
No,
not
is.
gonna
it's not
cry,
a
but
trap,
like I
but
know
By
you'd
it'll be
cry.
by
helpful to
us,
know.
yeah,
By us,
by
we mean
us,
Murph.
I
Yeah.
mean, me, because
Yeah.
Rob
Yeah.
has no tear ducts.
Remember,
My
while
goal
Um,
back.
is to get
Sorry.
Rob to cry one of these days. I'm gonna do
So you pure ugly cry.
even if I ha- even if I have to commission maybe to like pluck some leg hairs underneath or
Yeah.
something, I'm gonna make
Yeah.
it happen.
he doesn't have leg hairs; he waxes.
Oh
Wax it all
man.
off.
Um, yeah, I mean, we've seen those
Completely,
legs and
baby.
thighs. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, most definitely. Like, I think shame and doubt go almost hand in hand, for me. Like, I just, yeah, shame and doubt are just like skipping through the park all over me, like
Mhm.
all the
Mhm.
Mm.
time. Um,
What are some of those lies that they communicate to you?
yeah. Um,
They can
Yeah,
be
I mean,
brutal. They can be
yeah,
brutal
no,
too.
I never feel like I'm good enough. I live in a constant state of self-doubt, second guessing myself, second guessing
Mhm.
my decisions, second guessing, did I read that correctly? I gotta do this. I gotta try that again. And almost like um, this constant um, need and desire, not desire, I don't want to say desire, but just this constant, like almost perfection.
Mhm.
I've gotta look a certain way, or and um, and I try, guys. Like I
Yeah.
try. You have no idea. Like when I do my hair before work, I try to like. I'm gonna go for like a messy look today. I'm gonna try something different, and I leave the house looking exactly like this every single time. I can't do it. I can't do. You know what I mean? It's just like it's ingrained, and that's not like a bad thing. I don't know. Like I know what I like, and this is what I like, and so and it doesn't make me like it doesn't affect me negatively. I think what does affect me is the shame that follows, where I'm thinking
Yeah.
like, why can't I? Why can't I be myself? Or why can't I just be,
Mhm.
And so
So one thing here, back up for just one,
accepting me. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
or just back up for just 1 second, because you started to say that something about not being good enough. So
Yeah,
let's lay it bare, and that sounds a lot like shame to me.
yeah,
And assign ownership where ownership is due in this case. So is
sure.
it okay for you to say like shame tells me that I'm not good enough?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'll admit to that. Yeah.
So
Shame,
say it
shame.
out loud.
Oh yeah, shame tells me that I'm not good enough. Absolutely. Yeah,
And is that a
I'm confident
lie?
in that.
Is that a lie or is that truth? And sometimes it can feel like truth when it's a lie and vice versa. But is that
Right,
true or is that a
right.
lie?
So my shame tells me that I'm not good enough. To me is the truth. I know that that's coming from a place of shame. So,
So
and
I can,
I'm not trying to like,
yeah.
mess with words, but I just feel
Well,
like that's the
and
true me.
that's a very valid feeling, but
Yeah,
that's just false. I
yeah,
feel very strongly about that you are enough, that you are
yeah,
worthy.
yeah.
So if you can humor me and just even if it doesn't feel that way, we can
Yeah.
acknowledge that that's truth.
Okay.
So say that all together. Shame tells me that I'm not enough, and that's a
Yeah,
lie. The truth is that I am enough.
yeah, yeah. That's hard to
Even if you
say.
don't believe it, just try it. Just try it. I'm putting you on the spot here.
I think it's hard to say because I think I've had too much Shiraz. But it's but it's also hard to say because I don't yeah, I don't yeah, yeah. That's a tough one.
Are you willing just to try it? Even if you don't fully believe it, just maybe saying it out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Rob's up next. It really is, and I'm just being completely honest because I don't lie. And to say that would just it would be um yeah, it would just be a lie for me right now. And this is something that I'm working on.
Hmm.
And this is something that I'm not ashamed of. And this is something that I feel like maybe I've not talked specifically about this on social media, but something along these lines. I've alluded to the fact that this is something that I struggle with on a daily
Hmm.
basis. I've lost the weight, but that doesn't fix everything. That's not, and I'm starting to see
Mm.
that now that I've lost the weight, and that's not an issue anymore. I don't have to focus on the pain and the being the big guy at the party, and I don't even have to focus on being silly or funny anymore. I can literally just be myself,
Hmm.
and but now I'm dealing with this, and
Yeah.
it's opened up a whole new can of spiders.
Yeah. I know it.
And
Shame's a
so,
tough one. And
yeah, no,
I'm not trying to push in or like
no, I totally get your heart, and I appreciate you. It's just, yeah, it's not something I'm comfortable saying, and I'm just being honest.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and if it gets to a point, because it is uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable to call out truth, especially
yeah,
when we've been communicated lies for a long time. So
Yeah.
when you get to that space of wanting to say that out loud, even if it's just to yourself, that's okay. That's cool
Yeah.
too.
But it'll be good, and I'll let you know. You'll be the first to
Perfect.
know, you guys. Yeah.
And I did find that when you do get to the point where you can tell yourself these things, um, whether it's hard to say it yourself often, it has a tremendous impact to hear it often in your own voice. So there was an app that I had used at the very beginning of this whole process for me. And with it, you record these affirmations, right? So, and for me, it was always certain things about me as a parent, certain me as who I am for work, and what my goal is with everything that I'm doing in terms of helping people, all these different things. And they weren't necessarily people or places or whatever that I thought I was at right now, but they were people. This is who I wanted to be, right? Like if I could snap my fingers and say, this is who I want to be, like this is the ideal me, that's what I was saying. And I would listen to it going to bed every night. And my body just started waking up 15 minutes early so I could press play on my phone and go back to bed listening to it, right? And it had a tremendous, tremendous impact for me. And I think with the journey for sure, but this like even things like for me as a parent, it was huge. One of my main things that I would say on it is I am a loving and patient parent. Because at that time, like I found that I was losing my patience a lot with my kids or with things in general. And I found that my kids were the ones that would end up taking the brunt of my frustration because they're the ones who were doing things that would trigger me. Right. And I found that within a week, I was already finding that I am reshaping the way I approach my kids. And it wasn't me doing anything differently. And I found that, even doing something where, again, I wasn't very comfortable saying that because I didn't feel like I was a patient parent, but I was hearing myself say it over and over and over again. And I think somewhere along the lines, I started seeing small changes and I started believing it. And I think that has really helped me with a lot of different aspects of who I am and the, not just the weight loss journey, but the overall journey to finding out like that self-discovery journey, which I think at the end of the day, this is all big part of, right?
Yep. And I think the big thing about it too, like I used to think that affirmations were a way to like trick myself or like, like, oh, like maybe I'll believe it. But what I have found is like when I get the most emotional or when things really sit deeply with me, it's when people share truth about me to me.
Yep.
And especially when it's I don't know, like those basic truths that I try to say a lot, or I see them as basic truths of like communicating that like as humans, like you matter, like you are important, your needs matter, you are enough, you are a beautiful person because that's who you were created to be. And so it can feel uncomfortable at first to hear those because again, it's really sad and unfortunate, but I know for many of us, we've had people that have communicated lies to us a long time, people, media, all of these things. And this is just a way to kind of start accessing some of that and assigning proper name, or not proper names, but just the names that I came up with. You could change these to any name you want them to be. But you can at least start separating that from that's not who you are, that's what these things are, and they've been communicating messages to you that you can look at now, and that's where that true identity piece started to come in for me. And so with these things now, like they definitely still come in and affect me, but now I can properly call them out and identify them when they happen. Like in situations that come up, it's like, oh man, like performance just really like had me going today thinking that if I didn't do this, and that way that I was going to fail. That's ridiculous. Like it can be laughable now, which is nice.
I agree. And I've always said it. I think And I think it started when I started making this whole mindset shift. Um, and I think what you're doing is similar in lines. Like, I think being able to verbalize things and make them real, it has power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, having names for these things for me allows me to address them and tackle them, as opposed to them being a doubt that's just sitting in there that I know are there. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
an issue.
You
I
can't
know it's
run
a
away from
problem,
them, though. That's
but
what's
now
tough.
it's sort of right in front of me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
here it is. And I think that can go the other way too, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
me verbalizing, these are the things that I want to be. These are the things that I want to push myself. These are the things I'm striving to. Listening to myself say it, listening to someone else say it, writing it down and reading it, it's out in the open now. It's
Mm-hmm.
there. It's not just, you know, well, I always knew that this, or I always knew, or I thought this. No, it's there. It's something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a lot of power to making something tangible like that. And that's why even things like people, and I used to think a lot of this is all like mumbo jumbo crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things like writing down things so they're there. My closet has a whiteboard on it where I write my priorities for things like Q1, whether it's work related, whether it's health related, whether it's whatever, right? Because I can look at them and these are things that I've made known to myself. These are things
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to work on. These are things that matter to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just think that there's a lot of power with putting things out in the open, and
Mm-hmm.
and whether they're negative or positive, now you can address them, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. Well, here, I'll take this off of here, but it also kind of leads into, and I know we usually try to stick to an hour, but we're running over a little bit. But the last thing I'll kind of close with too is like, that's why I feel so passionate about sharing my own story and
Mm,
encouraging other people to share theirs, because it's like, it's just been amazing the connection that I've felt with other people when I started to open up and take the risk of sharing my story in that way. And um, it's really cool. And so, one of the things that I have going on that I've talked with you guys about that I'm excited about is I am launching on Monday. I haven't actually officially announced this because it was supposed to just be pre-orders on May 15th, but I'm actually going to be launching my course bundle. It's going to be ready to go on Monday, May 15th. And I had a friend ask me today, like, oh, like, is it just like a content creation type course? And it's like, oh no, it's not. It's really teaching, because I've had so many people ask me, like, how did you find the courage to start talking about your story? Or how do I even get started? I don't even have a story that matters. Like, my story's boring. And it's like, no, that's not true. Like, we all have valuable things to share to each other and with
yeah.
each other. And that's really what this course is going to do, is just give people tools on how I started. It's just one way, to do it, but just giving some like more tactful, specific tools on how to share your story to help other people to find connection, to heal. And that's been a surprising part of it too, where it's like I've love therapy. I've needed a lot of therapy. And this has almost been a form of therapy in its own way, too, of just
Yeah.
sharing my story. And it's been really cool. So if anybody has thought about sharing their story, or you're interested in sharing more of your story or a different aspect of your story, that'll go live May 15th. So I'm really excited about that. Selfishly, because I like want to watch your guys' YouTube channels. If you guys make YouTube channels, like, I want to watch your stories and hear them. So it's selfish for sure.
That's okay. It's all right to be selfish, because I think there's a lot of power with helping other people, and having the discussions that we've had and that we continue to have. Whether we think of it or not, like, you can't deny all the people who constantly message us and talk to us about their struggles and ask for advice. And I think that's the power of what we do, right? We're no one special. Like, yeah, Shay has a master's. Like, we're the rest of us,
I have a nice shirt.
Yeah, Murph has a nice shirt. I have a black heart. But that's the thing. Like, I think and I think that's the power of what we do here. And this was the whole point with all this.
Yeah.
We are three different people from three different areas of life, from three different ages, right? We have young with Shay, we have mid for me, and Murph is old. And we have, like, we're at different points in our journey. And so I think that's the good part. People can relate to something with everyone. And I think that has been the beauty of not just this community of what we've been doing here. I think for me at least is we've been so accessible. We've been able to share our journeys and our stories, and we've been able to take part in so many other people's stories, which, at the end of the day, one of the things that I said on my affirmations is I want to help people. And I didn't say in what form, but I totally feel like I'm fulfilling that right now with the things that we do and with the connections that we make. So that has a lot of power in it. And I think there's a lot of value with what we do. So I am
And
super happy about
if
that.
we could, I mean, the whole point of the waiting table, if we could take all of you that are watching and listening and bring you to our tables. I'm sitting at my dining room table right
Yeah.
now, and if you guys could be here, we would be here and we'd be having this exact same conversation,
Yeah.
and we'd be transparent with each other, and we'd support each other, and that's the whole point.
That's
And
the point.
as soon as we open up that transparency and talk to each other, that's I mean, there's freedom in that. There's so
Hmm.
much freedom. Yeah, I'm over here. I'm blubbering like an idiot, but
No, again,
I
that's
know.
not
No, yeah, I know. I'm
right.
being silly. I'm being silly. But don't yell at me.
You're like, get
Um,
off my case.
Respect your
Hey,
elders.
Mom.
I got you.
No, but if you were here, I'd be
Yeah.
crying just the same,
Hmm.
and that's the beauty of, Rob's in Toronto, Shay's in Oregon, and but we can still come together and share our stories and the power of the story. And you can do that, in your community, in this community, in your home, and just, yeah, being transparent is so powerful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like we've underestimated it for too long,
Yeah.
and now we can put names and
Yep.
little
And
characters, and
spiders.
Justin's muscle with a little
Justin's
thing
muscles,
behind it.
spiders in the
Yep.
closet.
And it's full circle where that's
There
why I
you go.
wore the shirt. I knew Murph
Exactly.
or I knew someone was going to cry. I thought it
No, no,
might
no,
be
no, no,
me,
no, no, no.
but
You knew Murph was
No,
going to
you
cry,
knew,
not
you
someone.
knew,
I'm
Like
I was
someone
gonna
I'm
would
a
be
cry.
crier
Murph.
too. I'm a crier too. It's all emotions, even the
Uh,
black-hearted emotion,
Yeah, man. That's
uh,
list
still an emotion.
emotions is what
yeah.
Rob gives us.
Negative emotions. But I will say that it's been, amazing doing all this. And I think, and I would challenge everyone who is listening, watching, following on Instagram, whatever the case might be. You are going through a journey at some point, regardless of where you are. And I think it's we think it's a weight loss journey, but I don't think it's just a weight loss journey. I think it's a very big self-discovery journey. And for some of us, we're doing it in our 20s, 30s. Some of us are doing it in our 40s. Some of us later than that. Um, but don't let this opportunity pass, right? Like you've been given, like we all talk about this, and it's like, oh, we've been given this opportunity to get our health back. No, you've been given this opportunity to really find out who you are. And not just that, to create the person who you want to be or who's been there all along, and just sort of rediscover that person and show and share that person with those around you. So don't take this all very, very lightly. This is a great opportunity for you guys. And yes, you're going to get healthier. Yes, you're going to lose weight. You're going to do all that amazing stuff. But I think the biggest benefit really is finding out who you are through this whole thing.
And there's no timeline. That's the
Nope.
beauty about growing and self-discovery is there's no destination, there's no beginning, there's no end, there's no timeline or things you have to hit. It's like that's what's so cool is like you get to just be present where you're at. And I think that's been such a relief for me too. It's like I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing and
That's
in the timeline I need to be doing it.
And I think the beauty part of it all, and I don't know when you guys want to close, but we'll just keep saying things until we.
it. Okay, you get the final word, Murph. Go ahead.
Is this the final word?
This is the final word.
Get your pet spayed and neutered.
Dude, that's a good one.
Is that a good one? Was that a good one?
Price is Right reference,
Okay.
guys. Shay, so back in the day, there was this TV show.
You guys lost me. I don't know what you're talking about right
The
now.
point. Okay, yeah. No, I think the biggest aha moment or the biggest takeaway from any of this for me, and when my journey really kicked into gear was what I had it planned out in my head, and then I went to say it, and I can't say it.
Let
It was
it
when I
out.
met
let it out.
Rob. It was when I met Rob.
Aw.
It was when I met, seriously, when I found out that, holy shit, it's not just me. I'm not alone. And I don't have to do this alone. Yeah, it's for me. Yeah, it's to benefit me. It's to help me. It's to, it's my journey, but somebody else is going through the same thing that I'm going through.
Yeah.
Almost exactly. I mean, Rob
Yeah.
and I are so much alike. And it was like, man, because he shared his story and I shared my story. And then we were like, oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
And then and it's like, wow, I'm not alone. 38 years of my life, I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only one struggling with this stuff. And man, the freedom in that, and
Mm,
I mean, here we are now. Like
that's it.
just not even a year later. And so it's been an honor, privilege. I mean, this has been a fantastic journey, and it's not over. We're in recovery, and it's a lifetime thing. And but I bought a ticket for the whole ride, so I'm ready
Awesome.
to go. Yeah,
And the good
thank
thing
you.
is we are all on that same ride together. So
Yeah, for sure.
buckle up and let's enjoy. Thank you guys. This has been an amazing episode, Shay. Thank you very much for bringing all
Thank you, Shay.
your wisdom and all your work. I'm looking forward to your courses, and I encourage everyone to check Shay out in regards to everything that she's putting out there. Check out her merch. She's got a really cool tank
Yeah,
top, and yeah, like I'm very excited and interested to see what comes out with everything, Shay. So I'm really happy and proud for you.
Thanks,
So
guys.
awesome. And thank you guys. That's all the time we've got for tonight. Thanks for joining us on the Waiting Table Podcast, where we're serving the weight loss community.
one emotion at a time.
See you later, everyone.
All right. We still got to do our
See-
little boogie out.
Oh, what is it? The Texas Shuffle? Was it?
Oh, yeah. Do the hustle.
Oh, Texas Hustle.
I got to figure out what that's called.
I like it.
Do some Googling.
No, it's like a card game trick. What's with the three cards?
Oh, three-card shuffle.
Shuffle?
Three-card
No,
Monty.
This is how you
Three-card
know.
Monty.
Oh, maybe
This is how you-
no, but that's not it.
That's
This is how you
funny.
know Murph is engaged. He has not gone to the bathroom yet, and I'm feeling anxious for him.
Yeah.
I haven't. That's because I haven't drank any water today.
Oh,
Quite honestly,
there you go. You found the secret.
I'm so behind on water.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.